Former Hayward Mayor John Pappas returned from the PGA tournament with his wife, Mary, shortly after midnight. In their East Bay residence, the couple found two armed intruders. Their home had been cased. Mary was bound and blindfolded. John, the clubhouse manager at Sunol Valley, was ordered to collect the tournament receipts from his office safe. An unforeseen conclusion to the 1969 Alameda County Open, and 6 of the most contentious months in PGA Tour history. In August 1968, players split from PGA of America events to form a rogue circuit, American Professional Golfers, Inc. Tournament golfers were tired of answering to club pros on tournament matters and sought a larger portion of TV and tournament revenue that had ballooned during the Jack Nicklaus and Arnold Palmer rivalry. "This is not designed to destroy the PGA," Nicklaus wrote in a September issue of Sports Illustrated. "Instead, we want to provide a better vehicle for the operation of professional golf tournaments. The next action rests with the PGA." The Rogue Tour swayed sponsors. "This is where the dancing girls are," boasted APG attorney Sam Gates. The Rogue Circuit assembled a robust 1969 schedule. The APG's first event was the historic Los Angeles Open at Rancho Park Golf Course. "The PGA will continue to play tournament golf," PGA Commissioner Max Elvin said. "It will be tough at first, but we will endure." Sunol Valley, which was touted as the first lighted championship course in the world, could host a full-field PGA event in short January daylight. In November, the Alameda County Open was announced, scheduled the same week as the APG opener. "If a player decides to go with the other group," Elvin warned, "his PGA card will be lifted immediately." Arnold Palmer, the son of a longtime PGA club pro, bridged the gap between players and the PGA. Like many players, Palmer sold clubs and merchandise in PGA shops. A compromise was reached at the PGA executive meeting in December. "The short, unhappy life of the American professional golfers has ended," wrote Art Spander in the San Francisco Chronicle. A tournament players division, renamed the PGA Tour in 1975, was established. A tour council was formed, with players having veto power. APG events, including the Los Angeles Open, transferred to the PGA. Pending litigation was dismissed. The first week on the player-run PGA Tour would feature 2 events, 400 miles apart, the Los Angeles Open at Rancho Park Golf Course and the Alameda County Open at Sunol Valley. Dick Lotz's phone rang. It was the PGA of America, looking to fill the Alameda County Open field with tour-caliber players. Lotz, a Hayward native, only held partial PGA status and was easily swayed to play 20 miles from home. "It was an easy decision for me," said Lotz, who's now retired in Oakdale. "The PGA said if you play in Sunol, you get an exemption for the following week's tournament, and the prize money you win will be official." Alameda pushed back Monday qualifying to accommodate Los Angeles non-qualifiers. "As nondescript as Nixon's cabinet," was how Spander described the Alameda field. During a second round delayed by frost, and with 5 p.m. sunset approaching, Sunol Valley turned on its mercury vapor lights, marking pro golf's first night tournament. Pockets of darkness hid fairways, according to the Chronicle. Leader Bill Ogden struggled to read his yardage book because of reflection off his glasses. Lotz had an advantage. "It wasn't that bad, at least for me," he said. "I used to practice at a putting green in Alameda with lights, and I'd read the green and feel the slopes with my feet. I played a practice round or 2 and had a little local knowledge." When third round play concluded, Lotz trailed by a stroke, and $17,000 in tournament receipts sat in John Pappas's clubhouse safe. After returning home from the tournament, John and Mary Pappas entered their home at 12:20 a.m. and flipped on the lights. Carl Edward Warren and Douglas Rice Spencer were in their kitchen. armed and masked. As I glanced around the corner of the kitchen alcove, I saw a dark figure. And as he moved to be mumbling something, I saw his gun, John testified, as reported in the Hayward Daily Review. Warren, 24, and Spencer, 23, both from San Jose, wore masks and rubber gloves. John recognized Spencer as one of two men who knocked on his door weeks earlier, asking to speak with his son, Paul. The interaction was suspicious, as Paul was married and lived on his own. The plan was that they were going to keep Mary right there with the one fellow, Spencer, and the other fellow, Warren, and I were to go to the club and empty the contents in the safe, Pappas testified. And if we didn't get back, or if something went wrong, that would be the end of it as far as Mary was concerned, and as far as I was concerned. Mary's wrists and ankles were bound. Her eyes were covered with black tape. Worried the bandits would fumble the heist, John called the Sunol Valley clubhouse. He told security guard Jimmy Lombardo that he would stop by with a friend to drop off a winner's check. Beautiful, beautiful. I might even split half the take with you, Warren told Pappas after the call with Lombardo. With Warren holding him at gunpoint, Pappas drove his white Mustang the 16 miles to Sunol. They were met by Lombardo. "Good morning, Mr. Pappas," said the security guard. Within minutes, Lombardo was stripped of his revolver and tied up in the clubhouse floor while Pappas emptied $17,000 from his office safe. Warren told Pappas to empty his desk drawer, which had hundreds of dollars in cash. "I could have had a gun in there," Pappas testified. Warren missed Pappas dumping much of the cash into a nearby garbage bin, and didn't have Pappas check a filing cabinet, quote, with a lot of money in it. Pappas helped Warren carry the cash to his parked Mustang. He asked his captor to ensure his wife's safety. He knew he was slipping by that time, Pappas testified. The Hayward councilman dissuaded Warren from calling the home from a nearby lit phone booth. "I said, 'Don't be silly. You're going to have a cop come along and the first thing he's going to do is come into a darkened gas station and look for us,' Pappas testified, as reported in the Daily Review. Warren says, 'Yeah, you're right. Damn it, you're always right.' Mary, in her testimony, said this was when Spencer became frightened. He says, 'Well, I've got a blow here. I can't hang around, something's gone wrong,' she testified. 'And as I looked down my nose, I could see the barrel of the gun right there.' He said, 'I'm sorry, we didn't want anyone to get hurt. But that's the way it is.'" The phone rang. It was Warren, telling Spencer the money was secured. Pappas and Warren returned to the home around 4 a.m. Lombardo, in this time, freed himself to call police, saying there was a prowler on the course. When the police arrived at Pappas's home, Warren had fled in Pappas's Mustang and Spencer in the bandits' 1960 Pontiac convertible. Mary and John were left bound. "It was a quiet night," recalls Officer Don Mora, who was contacted for this story by phone. "There was an all-points alert put out that an incident had occurred, and it involved Mayor Pappas, a possible kidnapping. Mora was friends with Paul from Chabot College, and knew the Pappas' house. He positioned his patrol car behind a nearby bowling alley, where he could see the home blocks away. The officer recognized the white Mustang when it came down the road. It had Alameda County open decals. The bandits' Pontiac followed. The guy looks at me and I don't recognize him as John or Paul," Morris said of the Mustang. "I radioed. Get some cover down here. I want to stop this Mustang." The Pontiac turned into a gas station. Morris stayed with the Mustang. When Warren made a left, Mora turned on his lights. Warren pulled over. Mora covered the left side of the car. Officer John Pearson covered the right. Another patrol car stopped directly in Mora's shooting line. "Trust me, this made me nervous," the officer said. Warren threw his keys out of the window. Mora made the arrest. He took a .357 Magnum off Warren and found a .32 automatic pistol in the car. Bags of money were strewn in the back seat. I went back to the patrol car and said, "Look, are the Pappas family okay?" Mora recalls. I gave him a cigarette. He told me they were okay. "As far as I'm concerned, God was looking over all of us," said Mora, who's now retired outside of Sacramento. "It could have gone sideways pretty easily. You could have come out of that car shooting." At the gas station, Officer Pratt Truscott pulled over the very dirty Pontiac. He was writing down Spencer's information when a police radio report said Warren was in custody. Truscott stopped his questioning and headed to Warren's arrest. Spencer fled south. Mora spent the night at the jail, counting the cash stolen from Sunol Valley. He credits Lombardo's call to police with keeping everyone alive. He told them there was a prowler. Why? He knew law enforcement, explains Mora, who became a training officer after years on the beat. If it's a prowler call, we come lights off. He was afraid for Mr. Pappas's life. He knew if he said we got robbed of everything, everyone would come, and he didn't want him shooting Pappas. Around noon, lots teed off with the final group, oblivious to the kidnapping and robbery. "I was more concerned with being exempt the next year," the golfer said. Most Sunol Valley spectators were in the clubhouse watching Joe Namath take on the Colts in Super Bowl III, Namath's guarantee game. Around halftime, police caught Spencer outside Watsonville, near Monterey. Detectives testified they found a gun, hunting knife, and rubber gloves in Spencer's possession. At the Los Angeles Open, Charlie Sifford and Alan Henning were headed to a playoff, 1 shot ahead of Billy Casper and 8 ahead of Palmer. Sifford, the pioneering black pro, birdied the first playoff hole for his second PGA victory. Lotz was making the turn at Sunol, tied for the lead, as Namath and the Jets celebrated their improbable upset. Spectators returned to the fairways. Lotz made a long putt on 17 to retain a 1-shot lead, then tapped in for par for his maiden PGA win. He credits a caddy he calls Buster with steadying his nerves. Older brother John finished tied for 8th, 6 shots back. 3 months later, Warren and Spencer were sentenced to 5 years to life on first-degree robbery, kidnapping, and burglary charges. The PGA reimbursed Sunol Valley for its tournament losses, according to the Chronicle. The 1969 Alameda County Open is the last PGA Tour event held at the course. Sunol Valley owner Frank Evaldi fell behind on his lease with the San Francisco Public Utilities Commission. By 1972, the Utilities Commission was investigating the course's bookkeeping amid suspicion of skimming profit. Evaldi owed more than $300,000 in back rent by 1974, then sold his lease to East Coast mobster Tony Romano. The deal embroiled the Utilities Commission. A 45-page grand jury report, which listened to 40 witnesses, questioned Mayor Alioto's role in the sale and called for the firing of 3 officials. During a disputed meeting at Lake County, Romano claimed Alioto assured him there would be no problem with the sale. Eventually, Evaldi regained the lease. Sunol Valley closed in 2016. The course entrance is now guarded with barbed wire, a swinging gate, and no trespassing sign. Ahead sits the dilapidated clubhouse. Worn golf balls litter the property. The Public Utilities Commission has surveyed residents on the property. The survey reads, "The list of potential uses is not exhaustive. Proposers may submit proposals for any legal uses, except for golf course, marijuana cultivation, and quarry uses."